So it's starting to look like Dead or Alive 6 might not be so different after all. So if you've been following the controversy of Dead or Alive 6 for the past few months, there's been some really weird decisions being made about the game. A lot of unclarified things from Team Ninja about, them reducing things or taking things out. And then they would go flip-flop over to another director or an interview and say, oh, we're not making those changes. Those changes aren't happening. Well, got some new info that's come out on what's going on with that game. It seems that they've been getting some heat for doing this from their publisher, which is in Japan, of course, and doesn't like the woke crowd because Japanese people don't, even though they've stated before that, they're trying to curtail these people. I don't know why, but apparently they've said that there is basically a boob switch, so you can get the actual physics, right? If you want to have the physics of a real breast, you can flip it on. If not, they will just sit there, and it'll be like having a conversation with a woke guy.
When you grab a woman's breast and you feel it, and it feels like a bag of sand when you're touching it.
Bag of sand.
So Mr. Soy here is not happy about these changes. So basically, he's a little upset. He feels like he had a bait and switch, which is kind of a theme here. So at E3 2018, the people behind Dead or Alive 3 declared the game had toned down the female sexualization the series was infamous for. Producer and game director Yahoi Shimbori told Eurogamer at the event that it was done for two reasons. The first relates to the global trend for sexualization to be toned down. I don't know if that's a global trend. It might just be a Twitter trend globally. But it was done so that everyone can play without being embarrassed. The second was to avoid the silliness, which is in keeping with the intense fighting entertainment goal. Showing the game to press at this point, characters who in previous versions would wear skimpy costumes instead had more realistic fighting outfits. Take Kasumi here, for example. Her default Dead or Alive 6 costume is designed with a fighter in mind. Here's her default costume in Dead or Alive 5. So I can show you the two different versions here. Here she is in Dead or Alive 5, looking very nice. And then you go down to Dead or Alive 6, and she's covered up like she's going to the temple. It's a little bit different, right? It's a very drastic change. And this isn't the only character that got these changes. All of them did, except for maybe one or two. However, it turns out things might be a little bit different. This version of the costume is still in the game. You have to unlock it. So you start off with this, but you can unlock this. And that's kind of the thing that's got them upset. But there's a little bit more to it than that. It's also turning out that at recent hands-on preview opportunity with a near-final build of Dead or Alive 6, I found female sexualization very up front and center with the franchise's outlandish boob physics easy to see. When I asked about this apparent change in tack at E3, Shimbori said that there is no bait and switch. There was no change at all, he said, speaking through a translator. Now, there's some things here. One, I think they know if they don't change it, they will have some issues, right? They know that they're going to have their audience leave them behind. Most people aren't playing Dead or Alive for a serious technical fighter, even though that's what they want. And he is quoted as saying that. I will show you that in a second, but I wanted to show you here. So here's some more examples of the unlockable costumes. This is the default costume, her in a schoolgirl outfit, but you can still unlock her original outfit right here. Now, what it takes to unlock these costumes, I have no idea. I'm not so sure I'm going to get the game or not. We'll see. But if you go through the quest mode, you can apparently get coins and you can unlock them. How much it takes, how long that takes, I have no idea. But there's one more thing that they've changed. So here's the actual statement from the director himself. So he says, actually, when we said tone down before, it was actually misunderstood. So we're hoping to avoid the phrase from now on. Rather than toning it down, it was more of a change in image. Since the main concept of Dead or Alive 6 is intense fighting entertainment, we decided everything from the user interface to the default costumes of the characters to show characters' fighting styles. For example, Hitomi is a karate user, so she wears karate clothes. Rather than saying toned down, we wanted to create a cooler and more heroic look to the characters themselves. As you can see with Kasumi, it's only her default costume that has covered up look. When people first saw this, they thought the entire game would be toned down, and it's not the default costume. But it's only the default costume. There are other costumes that are more cutesy looking and some that are sexy. So it's not toned down, it's just that we base the game on a desire to create this image of an intense fighting entertainment. Also, Dead or Alive has male characters, and another thing we wanted to focus on is that there were some new players that might feel embarrassed about playing the game, which we wanted to avoid, and this is why we made the default costumes have a cooler, more heroic look to them, which they based on Marvel comic book characters. So, one more thing here is that they did admit that the Me Too movement and other Twitter things have affected the game's development since the release of Dead or Alive 5. So, the big thing here is that because of this, they added a toggle switch. So, the Boob Physics can be turned on or off. Basically, one version of the game, they're stiff, like they're just taped on. And then in the other version of the game, they're real. Because I don't know if you woke people know this, but boobies jiggle. I know it's a crazy concept, right? But it's the truth. I'm sorry. They are not bags of sand, as 40-year-old virgin guy would have you believe. But there's some good quotes here. So he told them that he had to make existing fans happy. This comes from Tecmo, and the heavily sexualized female characters and their breast physics are what people are used to, and if they didn't get it, and that being the hardcore fans, they'd leave the series behind, and that's not something that you want to do. So, as such, they made the options to get those things back, such as the unlockable costumes and the toggle switch for the physics. Now, I don't know if this was always in the game or not. They don't clarify that, and that's kind of the problem, is that the people that made this game tried to make it cater to both audiences, right? To the phantom crowd, that being the NPCs, and the hardcore fighting crowd that have an expectation for this game. They never made anything clear, and I think that that's starting to get to them a little bit. But basically, he says here, and I guess he helped develop the Lara Croft series, if you're really embarrassed by it, you can switch it off, but then you basically have 1990s Lara Croft. For me, as someone who built the game and wanted it to be realistic, this is not realistic. This is just stiff. It doesn't look quite right to me, but if you have concerns for this, you can always change them off. I can't wait to see what that looks like with the bags of sand that don't move. So this is something that was getting through to the woke media like Polygon and stuff. Polygon actually wrote an article where they talked about how Dead or Alive 6 was pretending to be woke, which I found hilarious. But this is finally what they should have said from the beginning. Blame it on DOA Extreme, but the fact is we were trying to build a good fighting game with a challenging system. We put a lot of effort in tutorials and quest mode to make it accessible for beginners. We are honoring the long-term fans and making sure they also get what they expect. We would really appreciate it if the media would focus more on the topic of we are building a good game here and not only focusing on the juggle dog. Well said, sir. Well said. So this kept them off of a Angry Gamer's master list, which is excellent. I love this website, man. One Angry Gamer. So they have Agents of Mayhem, Battleborn, Battlefield 5, Dishonored 2, Hyper Universe, Lawbreakers, Mass Effect Andromeda, Sunset, Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, and Wildstar, and some other ones. If you want to check these out, just head over to One Angry Gamer. They got it all on there. But I like this list. I might do a whole video on this list. I think that would be entertaining. But yeah, so they should have done that from the beginning, because I was also confused by Dead or Alive's kind of direction they were going, because it seemed kind of, we're going this way, then they would talk to somebody else and they're going that way. It's like, so you making the game that I've played 5 times now, or you making, some weird game for Polygon's staff and nobody else? I need to have answers, man. Apparently they finally gave answers, considering the game comes out in March. Maybe they can curb this narrative they have coming out, so we'll see. Anyway, now I might check the game out, because I'm definitely not looking for bags of sand and women. Anyway, let me know what you think about this idea. Let me know what you think about the toggle switch. Do you think it defeats the purpose? Do you think that they're still trying to push towards both crowds? What are your thoughts on this? Also, like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. And, leave that comment, any kind of comment you want. And that's pretty much it. Check out the links in the description, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.